I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Who are you?
Hey, this is Matt once again. We're back to another review. This is another paid request, this time from Andrew Patterson. Thank you so much for that. For those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos, commentaries, reviews, re-reviews, topics, randomness, whatever, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. I'll try to get to it as soon as I can. And this is for the 1992 film Romper Stomper, which I've heard of but I've never seen. I know it has a very early performance by Russell Crowe. And for what I understand, the director of LA Confidential saw this film, and then that led him to cast Russell Crowe in LA Confidential, and that's really the movie that made him a star. And then he went on to do Gladiator and plenty of other movies. Now, the director of this film would actually go on to direct Cherry Falls in the year 2000. With Brittany Murphy. That was a slasher film where the killer would go after virgins. And interesting idea, wasn't entirely successful, but it was okay. It was an okay film. It could have been better. This one, I don't think it's a bad film. It's just the only merit I got out of it was watching an early intense performance by Russell Crowe, who plays the leader of this neo-Nazi skinhead group in Australia. And Russell Crowe, like I say, he's intense, he's believable. He's definitely the best actor in the group. And he's a guy who just oozes out a dangerous vibe to him. You could probably say in real life as well he does. Because a lot of the film is them going around beating up people, in particular Asian people, because they don't like that these Vietnamese people are coming into their turf and into their country. His buddy is played by Daniel Pollock as Davey, and sadly that actor committed suicide before the film's release, because he committed suicide in like April of 1992, and this film came out in 1992. So it's one of those things you watch, you go, oh wow, you know, like the second lead. I mean, I'm not going to formulate why he did it. Sometimes I'm not even going to try. Just too bad, like, to not even see the film's release, and I don't know. Anyway, they, with the other skinheads, neo-Nazis, they either fuck up a mall, they steal clothes from a mall, chaos, anarchy. They look at knives that are the standard, quote, standard issue for the Hitler Youth. They get into these mosh parties, kind of like the punch scene you would see in a variety of films, like Repo Man with Emilio Estevez. You know, the punch would just get together, push each other around while this music plays. And the song playing is literally like, skinhead, skinhead, blah, 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 blah. Skinhead, skinhead, blah, 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 blah. And Kurt Russell. Although it'd be interesting to see Kurt Russell play a Nazi, neo-Nazi skinhead. That'd be a very different role for Kurt Russell. But Russell Crowe, this is girl who has a rich daddy who kind of might have abused her, and she runs away from him and is fucking with Russell Crowe, while Davey, he detects an infatuation with this girl. So Russell Crowe is fucking her while everyone's pushing each other around their mosh pits. Pretty much this bar is sold to the Vietnamese. Russell Crowe and his skinheads don't like that. They beat up some people. But then a mob of Vietnamese, they don't like that, so they go after the skinheads. And as I'm watching this, I'm going, okay, I'm kind of wondering where this movie is going, where this movie is leading me story-wise, because it's just kind of a bunch of unlikable skinheads and unlikable people hanging around just to see what they do, which I don't really find interesting. I don't. And even the buddy Daniel Pollock, Davey, don't really like him because he's another skinhead and he's not really stopping these innocent people getting beaten up. He joins in beating up a bunch of innocent people in a tunnel at the very beginning of the movie. So I don't find him, I find him unlikable. The girl that joins the group, she helps kick one of the Asian folks who did nothing wrong to her. So she's not really that likable. So there's not really anyone to root for. And other than witnessing Russell Crowe's performance, I don't really know what I'm supposed to get out of it. The songs, that's not my kind of songs that they play. Skinhead, blah, 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 blah. When they're being chased after, at times there's a lot of shaky cam, which gets irritating. The action scenes, there's nothing really that noteworthy to talk about the action scenes. Again, there's shaky cam. Even if you're going into it thinking there's going to be gore, there's not gore. It's not that kind of movie where there's gore in it. I feel no pity, thus no tension, and thus there's no suspense when they're being chased around from building to building, and some of their group gets taken down and beaten up by these Asian folks. I'm like, okay, I'm not feeling suspense. I feel no pity for anybody. The Asians, they're not really characters, because you don't know anything about them other than they're Asian. But yeah, I believe they're Vietnamese. Sorry if I'm wrong. They get to a warehouse. They threatened two squatters. I commend Russell Crowe's performance. If I see you two here again, I'll chop your legs off. That's really the only noteworthy thing to talk about this film. If you want to see an early intense role by Russell Crowe, or I guess maybe you're really, really, really interested in the neo-Nazi skinhead scene of Australia, but it's not really going into the politics of the time. It's not really getting into what all was going on at that time. It's pretty much just them hanging around, beating people up, being chased. They hide out in a warehouse. They decide to get guns. Two of the punk girls go, if you get guns, we're leaving. Fine, leave. So they leave. The girl that Russell Crowe was fucking, she talked shit to Russell Crowe, so Crowe tells her to fuck off. She calls the cops. Cops come. Cops shoot a couple of them, including one of the younger skinheads in the head. The others get arrested. So all that's left is Russell Crowe, the buddy Davey, and this girl. Spoiler alert. Spoilers. They go to a convenience store. Russell Crowe strangles a guy to death. The other two freak out, which I don't know why they're that freaked. Have you seen Russell Crowe's behavior? Do you really think... He threatened earlier to cut off 2 squatters' legs off if they come back. You've seen how intense and crazy he is. Are you really that surprised that he strangled someone to death? That's like, hey, here's this rabid Wolverine. And it bit me. It clawed my face off. Are you that surprised? They go to the beach. Russell Crowe tries to convince his buddy this girl's a liability. Finds out she called the cops on them. Russell Crowe tries to drown her and choke her out. Davey fights Russell Crowe. Ultimately, the guy stabs Russell Crowe in the neck. While a bunch of Asian tourists come by, because by this point the car's on fire. The score at the end is a bit unique for the end credits. Kind of a crazed piece of music. I'm not sure how to describe it. It's a bit of a unique for the end credits. Russell Crowe's performance is intense, but there's really not much for me to talk about. I think whether to showcase the youth of the time, because it's not really given any other details about the geography in Australia, what's going on, the culture at the time. You hear a little bit of the philosophy when Russell Crowe is explaining it to the girl at one point. That's the most you get out of it. The action scenes, there's nothing really... When I say noteworthy, it's not like you get, like I said, intense gore effects or really brutal, big choreography, or nothing really comes to mind in those sequences. Again, there's a bit of shaky cam. Like I said, the music... Oh, I forgot the moment. To be fair, there's one more I forgot is... in between getting the warehouse and the cops coming, there is a point where to try to get guns, they go to the rich girl's dad's place. And they tie him to a toilet. He gets out of it, chasing him with a gun. I was waiting for the dad of the rich girl to get killed. I figured that'd be the turning point. No. They're just wrecking the car. They steal this rich guy's car after they wrecked it. And they're driving out while classical music is playing. Just a bit more of that chaos and anarchy, the showcase of these characters, which we've already established that fairly well by this point. And yet, when it gets to the end of the film, I don't care about this love story between Davey and the girl, because I don't find them that likable either. If they're like having doubts and you shouldn't do this and they shouldn't do that, like the only time they do that is way, way late in the film when finally Russell Crowe strangles someone. So, I mean, technically that's the first person he's killed. And then they're horrified. I'm like, where did you think this was leading up to? Seriously. So, I don't really know what else to say about as a review. Like I said, the music has punk-like songs, or maybe a little bit classical music like I mentioned. The other actors, they're alright, kind of indifferent. Not good, not bad, just indifferent. Davey, I mean, I guess when he's trying to talk to the girl, they tried to do a little bit of an insight to the guy, but it wasn't enough that made me side with him. Oh, I understand his plight. I understand what he was going through. I understand why he did this. I understand why he got into this frame of mind. Not really. The girl, maybe because her father was being nice, but then would slap her, and maybe to try to understand her plight to a point. You know, Russell Crowe. You know, the moment when there's a point where they're running away from the mob of people, and Russell Crowe's ready to make a stand, and he's yelling at his other skinheads. You look at you. You're a bunch of rabbits. You look like a bunch of scared fucking rabbits. And he has this, just crazed look in his face. I just see why, if you take anything away from the film, is, hey, this Russell Crowe guy, which I don't think originally he was going to be in it. It was going to be someone else. But I forget the circumstances. It didn't pan out. So then they got Russell Crowe. And again, this led him to get LA Confidential. And they got a lot of awards and critical acclaim. Then they led him to get films like Gladiator and other stuff. So Russell Crowe doesn't seem like a nice guy. But he's a fairly good actor. I see him in stuff where I'm like, hey, he's pretty good. The Nice Guys. I did enjoy him in that. Loved him in Virtuosity with Denzel Washington. Hey, Parker, this was for you. As much as Virtuosity gets shit, I get more merit out of that film on entertainment level, music, action. You could call it superficial. You could call it not deep. And not talking about the plight of the human condition. But there's not a whole lot going on there other than they're skinheads and they're assholes. That's, I don't think this film's that deep either. Virtuosity, very different kind of film, but I just both have Russell Crowe in it. It's much more entertaining, much more fun to watch. Has characters I like. Felt like it has more of a story. This barely felt like it had a story. Thankfully, it was only 90 minutes long. So idea it's not bad. It's just nothing I would have ever wanted to see. I mean, if you want to watch a deeper movie about Skinhead, American History X, Edward Norton, that would be more ideal if you want to look at a movie that again explores someone who's a skinhead and then their beliefs and how toxic that is and how horrible that could affect other people, like it affects his younger brother, Edward Furlong, and how he believed in it and where that led him to, even when Edward Norton's trying to regain his life and trying to appeal to the cinematic gods of, oh, hey, I fucked up in the past, let me repent my sins. I mean, if you talk about a movie that delves into it deeper, that does it more than this. And as an action film, it's not that exciting or thrilling. So I don't know. With that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.